All right, good evening, everyone. So today is Monday, June 5th. Today we will be having Jim Saraceno tying up. Where did I have that? Very top. The Bill Miller crawfish pattern. So we'll have him start in a few minutes with that. We'll just kind of go over a couple things. Let me see, for fishing news, we did the Vets Fish Free last Saturday at Merrimack. That was a pretty good outing. A lot of veterans out there. So we did our part by having a lot of giveaways from Tom Hargrove. So everyone got to go through and pick a lot of materials out for what they needed. They enjoyed that, and then we donated some of the newer stuff for the tagged fish. It was a good time. They had again pulled pork for us, and everyone got along just fine, and saw a lot of people catching fish. Cool thing coming up, and it's going to hit the theaters. I guess this is Friday. It's in email I sent out. It's called Mending the Line. And again, I still want to see if we could get, I haven't reached out to see if I could actually fund. I know we could like rent a movie theater for a couple hours or one of the shows that they got, one of, the screens, and see if we could get a bunch of people out there. And it's basically what we do, where it's a veterans healing with fly fishing movie. It's got good ratings already, but it's about a Marine wounded in Afghanistan that's sent to the VA facility in Montana, where he meets a Vietnam vet who teaches him how to fly fish as a way of dealing with his emotional and physical trauma. So that looks like it's going to be a really good movie. A lot of the movies I see that get rated, anything like the Fast and the Furious get like 6 out of 10 stars. Some of the other movies will get around 7. This one's already rated at 8.1, so it should be a pretty good movie.
How long is it?
Probably a normal movie, like 90 minutes, I would say. So
You gonna have popcorn?
I'm sure at the movie theater will have popcorn.
I'm coming.
All the popcorn you could want. So that's out there. Rod building, I know we still have a couple guys that need to finish them up. Get with us, and we will be more than happy to meet with you to get those finished up. I know Walt's ready to help out, and so am I. Just get with me or Walt, and we'll schedule something, and we'll get those finished up. And if I haven't already I've given some out, but when you finish your rod, you get a reel and fly line to go with it. So it'll finish off to turn it into a combo for you. Again, I'll have to get with JB. I haven't heard from them in a while. I'll ping them again, see if the restrictions are still the same from the last time I talked to them, where they're still wanted pretty much like proof of COVID shot, proof of flu shots, and TB test, and a 3-page questionnaire. So I want to see if that's relaxed a little bit after they've kind of called it the end of the pandemic, or if we're still going to have to do that. Let me see. Fly tying equipment, I did get a large haul from Hargroves, and all the good stuff was picked through, so we didn't take anything back. The stuff that was not taken, we just dumped. It's pretty much the basic, what we get from Hargroves. Anywhere from 50 to 90% of it ends up in the trash because it's rusted or molded or stuff like that. But we got a lot, and we helped out a lot of people, so we're good there. Zoom calls, again, this is always going to be 6 to 7, and we are always invited for John Wright's Omaha Project Heating Water, and that's every Thursday, same time, 6 to 7, and the meeting and passcode are in the email. And then he also put in the chat what's coming on forward. So if I could look at that real quick. We see June 8th, Mike Kelly will be doing the Muddler Minnow and the Marabou Muddler. If you guys haven't seen Mike tie yet, he's really good. So again, I don't know if we've done a Mother Minnow here or Marabou. It's good to see the different stuff they do. June 15th, we got Dave Wilson, fly tying skills review for beginner fly tying class. So they actually hold classes over Zoom, and they'll be going over that.
Yeah, Dave Wilson is from Australia, by the way. So
Yes. So he's the furthest member of the Omaha program, as he lives in Australia. Good guy. June 22nd, Mike Callaghan will be doing the Rusty Rat salmon fly. June 28th, Mike Kelly doing the Marabou Bug Caddis larva. Ooh, and the Ray Charles. I just saw that a couple weeks ago. I think that was when I was fishing with Frank. I was talking to a guy, and he says he was using a Ray Charles, and he was doing really well next to me. I was using a 2-nymph rig. He was using a 3-nymph rig, and that was one of his flies that were doing really well. So I see right there, Lee is like, what's the Ray Charles? I don't have it with me right now, or I'd show you, but it's uses ostrich hurl and some mylar, and it looks really cool. It's not that hard. Hopefully check it out on Thursday. Again, that's when he's doing that, June 29th. And if you like it, I'm not going to try to sneak it in for us. We'll do it in July if you guys like it. I'm not going to try to sneak it and beat Mike out on that. So outside of that, that's all I got. So I'm going to turn this now over to Jim so he could be doing the Bill Miller crawfish pattern. So go ahead, Jim, you got it.
Okay, so the Bill Miller crawfish. Bill Miller used to work for Feathercraft many years ago. So like 25, 30 years ago, when I was first learning to tie flies and fly fish and stuff like that, I'd take my son, who was like 8, 10 years old, and we'd go over to Feathercraft on Saturday mornings. And at the time, you could just walk in and say, hey, I want to tie a fly, and they'd sit down and show you a pattern. And Bill was really knowledgeable. He gave me a lot of really good information for a beginning fly tire and stuff like that. And, as a matter of fact, I think Feathercraft probably still does it. You might need to make a reservation, but I think they have free fly tying lessons and free casting lessons there. But anyway, unlike most of the flies that I tie, which are quick and easy and effective, this one is neither quick nor easy. It's not for the faint of heart, especially if you're a beginning fly tire, but it is very effective. So let's go over, whoops. Take a look, come on, whoops. Not good at pressing buttons here. Oh, missed it again. There we go. So this is the fly. And one thing you'll notice right away is how light the color is. It's just a light tan. And I've never, ever seen a crawdad that was that color. But Bill always said that that's the color of a crawdad when he molts and, sheds his shell, and now he's got a soft shell, and they're really vulnerable at that point. And so that's how he came up with the color here. And over the years, I have done many, many variations. I've tied them in yellows and browns and anything that I think that the bass would really care for. And these claws, for instance, they're made out of bucktail. And I was concerned about that because when it hits the water, the claws just, I mean, they just sit in the water like that. There's absolutely no movement whatsoever. And I thought, geez, it would be a lot better if the claws moved, gave them some, put some movement, it should be more attractive. So, I tried tying them. This has got like hen feathers and marabou and crystal flash and rubber legs, and it's a color that more resembles the crawfish that I'm usually seeing. And we take these up to the boundary waters every year, and sometimes, not always, but sometimes they are the fly of the week. But I come up with these different variations, and I'm fishing my new variation, and my buddy's fishing the original, and he's always out fishing me. So I've given up trying to modify it. I just tie it the way that Bill says to tie it. So what we need to tie it with, I tie them in size 4s and size 2s. The 4s I can pretty easily cast with a 6 weight, might be a little difficult with a 5 weight. The 8s, I like to use my 8 weight with the size 2s. They're heavy, they're wind resistant. I'm sure I could cast it with a 6 weight, but I prefer to fish an 8 weight if I'm fishing the number 2s. So the hook this is a 4 extra long streamer hook, which is your regular woolly booger hook. The only variation is it's got a bend right in the middle, a 20-degree bend. Now, you can buy the hooks pre-bent like I do, or you could take your 4X long woolly booger hook and you can put a bend on it yourself. So that's the hook. The antenna is just strands of pheasant tail. The thread, I'm using tan 6/0 unithread. The lead is actually lead-free, 35 thousandths lead-free wire. The carapace or the shell is Swiss straw. And again, this is all in light tan colors. The body is Aunt Lydia's sparkle yarn. And they call it dark tan. Looks pretty light to me, but it's called dark tan. The pincers or the claws are made out of bucktail, just the natural bucktail that's in the middle, the stuff that we usually buy the bucktail for the white stuff and whatever color it's dyed from. But now we're have a chance to use that natural in the middle. The legs are just hackle. I have this furnace hackle. This is a saddle hackle that's got to be 20-25 years old. And if you notice how the feathers they're tapered, they're thin at the bottom and they're thick at top, and the fibers on the wings are very, very soft, much softer than today's saddle hackle. Today's saddle hackle, each feather is nice and straight, the same width from one end to the other, but they're very, very stiff. So I like to get out this old saddle hackle every once in a while. For segments, I wrap small copper wire. And so that's all the material. So let's get started here. So I am going to tie a size 2. And so I start out by putting the hook in the vise upside down. If you have a rotary vise, that helps a little bit, but if you don't have a rotary vise, don't worry about it, because just about every step is done with the hook upside down. And I take my round nose pliers, pinch that barb, try to anyway. There we go. Just makes a nice, smooth, barbless hook out of that. Yeah, let me take a moment to get my magnifiers on so I can see what I'm doing. So as far as the lead goes, if I was going with lead on a number 2 like this, I would probably make 11 wraps, but with the lead free, I usually add about 20%. So that's going to bring us up to 13 or 14. I'll start in the middle, see how many wraps we can get in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's good. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to cut that off. Going to clean up the ends a little bit. And again, I'm facing my vise, but my monitor is off to my right, so I'm not really watching what I'm doing. So if my hands are in the way, or you need a better view or whatever, just speak up and let me know, because I can't always, I can see what I'm doing, but I can't see what you see. Okay, now we're going to attach the thread. So I make a little dam just on the eye side of the lead. And then I kind of do a big spiral wrap and do a dam on the bottom side of the lead. And that just holds it into place. And then I'll go back and forth a couple of times just to put some thread on there so material doesn't fall in between the wraps. Now we're going to bring the thread up to right about under the point of the hook. Cut that extra thread off. Now, this is the only step that I do with the hook right side up. I'm going to take some fibers off the pheasant tail. Now, he recommends basically 1 fiber on each side, makes the antennas out of that. But this stuff is very, I guess, fragile, you would call it. It breaks off really easy. So I go ahead and I tie 4 pieces on. That way, when I lose a couple, I still have another couple. And I'm going to hold it on what is the top of the hook and get it started. And I'm going to take my bodkin and separate the fibers. So 2 are on one side and 1 is on the other side. Is that right? Okay. And then I'm going to hold it down into place. And then I'm going to start wrapping down around the bend of the hook. So right about there is pretty good. And I'm going to back that off. We're going to bring this back around so the hook is upside down. And then the next thing, we're going to attach the Swiss straw. And he recommends 2.5 inches. I just usually cut off like 2 folds on the card, if I can find the end. We're going to tie that in. So I kind of keep my thread kind of halfway in between this bend and that bend while I'm tying this stuff on. So again, I'm going to tie that on and I'm going to work the thread up the bend of the hook again, just like where the antenna is. Come back down. And I'm going to get out my Aunt Lydia's sparkle yarn. I mean, I usually just leave it on the card, but it's easier if you cut it off. He recommends about 10.5 inches, but I would go with a foot because at 10.5 inches, sometimes I start running out. So I'm going to go ahead and tie this in at the same point. And again, I'm going to work my way up to that same spot, that same bend. Back it off. I'm going to clean that up a little bit. And then we're going to make a little ball with this yarn. And to do that, I'm going to take the yarn and I'm going to twist it so it's tight. So that's tight. And I can usually do this in 3 wraps. So I'll go 1 wrap around the hook. Second wrap around the hook right next to the first wrap. And then the third wrap around the hook is going to go in between the two, on top of the two. So that creates a little bit of a ball right there. And that's going to help separate the pincers when we put those on there. So I bring the thread right up to the edge of the ball, and then I tie off the excess. Okay, so now we're going to start on the step that's probably going to cause most people the most problems and the most aggravations. And that's putting the pincers on. So I'm going to start with my bucktail. I'm going to cut off a section that's probably as thick as a pencil is wide. You can make them thicker or thinner. It doesn't make a whole lot of difference, I don't think, but that's kind of what I shoot for. And I try to get the ends fairly even, but bucktail just does not stack like deer hair. So the first step I do, I'm going to grab it close to the middle. I'm going to pull out the short hairs here that just are not going to work for us. Then, if there's any under fur, you take your comb, you brush it out. This one doesn't have much under fur in it, so that's not a problem. And then I do a couple of steps where I'll take it by the tips, and then I'll pull up, and I'm actually pulling out the shorter ones. And then I try to line that up again. And I'll do that 2 or 3 times.
Drop your hand down, Jim. You're off the camera.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
There you go. A little bit lower.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe I can do this. How's that? So yeah, so I'm holding the tips. I'm grabbing the top, and I'm trying to get them back in the, so their tips are close to the same. Well, I didn't do a very good job on that, but that's all right. They don't have to be perfect. And I'm going to put it in the stacker. And I'm going to hammer away for a while because, like I say, it doesn't stack well. So I give it a good number of snaps. And then I take it, hold it, always hold it sideways and grab by the tips and pull it out. And that came out pretty good. So what I'm striving for is the claws to be about 3/4 the length of the hook. So that's probably about my length right about there. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to put the hair right over the point of the hook so you can see it maybe. I'm going to bring it right over the point of the hook. And I'm going to try to get like half of the fibers on one side and half on the other side. And then I'm going to hold that into place. And again, I'm starting with the thread kind of in the middle between the two bends. I'm going to start wrapping, but you don't want to wrap too tight, because just like deer hair, if you wrap it real tight, it's going to splay, and then that's going to create more problems, and it's going to be harder to handle. So it's just a fairly loose wrap. So you can see I have a small section of that wrapped, and then I'm going to take all the excess. I'm going to hold it straight up. And then I'm going to cut off the excess, and I'm going to cut straight across like this. And in theory, when I get done, there's a little taper here. So I don't know how well you can see this, but the top is shorter than the bottom. So as we finish making the body, that's going to help shape that body. So now I'm going to hold everything into place, start working my way down to the 20-degree bend. Now I'm going to start putting a lot more pressure on that. Bring it right down to the other side of the bend, and I come back. And again, I'm putting a lot of pressure on there until I get back to pretty close to the middle. And then at this point, I'm going to take my bodkin, and I'm going to try to separate the fibers. So half of them are on one side of the hook and half are on the other side. Doesn't have to be perfect. Crayfish, I'm sure, just like lobsters, they're right-handed or left-handed. They have one big claw and one small claw, so you don't have to be symmetrical here. And then I'm going to take my bodkin, and I'm going to put it just past the bottom of that knot that we put on there, that ball that we made. And as you can see, when you do that, that helps separate those hairs. And then I'm going to start wrapping again. And again, I don't want to wrap too tightly because I don't want it to splay. We're going to try to wrap pretty close to that ball. It's fighting me a little bit because I have a pretty big bundle on this time. Okay. So now, Bill always did cross wraps here, but I've just never gotten along with the cross wraps. I never felt like I was doing anything. So I'm just going to wrap the base of each claw. And if you do parachute flies, this is basically the same kind of process as the parachute flies. And this is where things can be very frustrating. So what I normally do is I start out with my bodkin. I put it on the inside of the fibers or the hairs or whatever on one claw. Then I bring my thread around, and when I come around the other side, now I'm going to take my bodkin and I'm going to put some tension on the bodkin here. And that's probably a little too long. I need to shorten that. Then I'm going to bring the bodkin back around again. As I tighten up, I'm going to bring the bodkin right down thread exactly at where I want it. So we're going to start at the base. And then we're going to work our way up a little bit. And again, we don't want to make it too tight.
Those are sort of a knot.
No, that's not really a knot. We're just wrapping around the hairs here. Let's see, come on. See, and this is fighting me already here.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like posting a fly.
Exactly, it's exactly like that.
Hmm. Okay,
In fact, you could probably use that bodkin to post a fly just like you're using it there. I've never seen that done before, Jim. That's kind of cool.
Okay. So, and this is, when I'm doing this, I keep my bobbin, I don't have a lot of tension on it because as I start running out at this point right here, I need a little extra. If I just yank on it, it's going to start pulling everything off. So I basically, to adjust the tension on one of these bobbins, just pull it apart and there's less tension on it. Okay, so I got that one. I'm going to do the same on this side right here. And again, I'm going to start by putting my bodkin on the inside of the bucktail. And I'm going to bring that
wow,
bobbin around and then pick up the slack on the thread. I'm going to go through, I'm going to drop that wrap right where I want it.
do you count those wraps?
Nah, I
Okay.
just wrap until it looks good. So, and again, here's a point where I need some extra thread. So I hold on to it rather than pulling tight on it. So, this is maybe 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little more, but that's enough. You can see that it's holding everything together. Well, maybe you can't see, but you can see that that's holding all that bucktail together. So now I'm going to come around, do a few wraps around the body again. And now it's time to put on the hackle. So, on today's saddle hackles, I don't know that it would make a whole lot of difference whether you tied it in by the tip or the butt, because there's really no variation in the length of the barbels, or whatever you want to call them. But with the taper, I'm going to tie it in by the tip. And as far as whether you tie it with the dull side facing you or the shiny side facing you, I know Bill had a preference, but I don't think it makes any difference. So we're going to tie that in. Now we're going to bring the thread down to that 20-degree bend, and we're going to start wrapping to form the body here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that thread, take the yarn. Remember the last time I twisted it so it was tight? Now I'm going to twist it so it's loose. And the reason that I'm doing that is I want this, there's basically 3 strands here, and I want them to sit side by side rather than to bunch up like that. So we're going to take that and start wrapping down towards the 20-degree bend. We'll probably go about 3/4 the way down there. And at this point, I'm going to start wrapping back up again. And we get to this point by wherever you place this yarn, you can really make a difference on how far apart those claws are going to be. So if you work it up past that ball that we put, those claws will get pulled together. If you stop at the bottom of it, they're going to be splayed very, at a very big angle. So I come up to the ball and just, I don't quite I don't quite cover half the ball. So I'm not going past the thickest part of the ball. Now I'm going to work my way back down again. And this time we're going to go all the way down to the 20-degree bend. I'm going to tie that off right there. Then I'm going to take my hackle. I'm going to counterwind it, and that's going to help prevent it from going down in between the wraps here. So I try to get like maybe 4 wraps around. But again, that's nothing critical here. See, that's another thing about this old saddle hackle. Not only are these fibers very soft, but there's not as many fibers per inch. I mean, if I use today's saddle hackle, it would be much, much thicker. Not that it, not that it makes any difference, but it's just the difference between the way hackle used to be and the way it is now. So at this point, you can trim off the hackle on top if you want. I don't bother doing that, but I'm going to take the Swiss straw and we're going to pull it apart, make it thicker. And then we're going to take that and pull it over the back. I'm going to hold it down right at the bend. I'm going to do one wrap around, and then I'm going to tug on it again so it's nice and tight. Then I'll do another few wraps right there.
Cool.
We're going to pull this back. Now I'm going to work my thread up to the end of the lead. I'm going to take my small copper wire, and I'm going to tie that in right here. And work my way back down to the 20-degree bend. And then we're going to bring that wire, the thread back to around the eye. Now this time when I wrap the yarn, I'm neither going to tighten it or loosen it. I'm just going to wrap it the way it is. Oops. See, I bet I cut a foot off and I'm about at the end of my yarn there. So that's what I would, I recommend cutting about a foot off. Now we're going to tie this off. Cut off the excess. Take the rest of the Swiss straw, bring it down, hold it into place, tie it off. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to take that copper wire and I'm going to spiral wrap it down to create segments. So the first one I wrap right at the 20-degree bend. And then I try to get like 4 or 5 segments on a size 2 hook, maybe 3 or 4 on the size 4. Honestly, don't know how many segments are on a crawdad. Next time I go down to the Broadway Oyster Bar and order up a bucket of crawdads, I'm going to have to count those things. And we're going to tie
I
that
guess
off.
6 segments.
Oh, okay.
I'm guessing 6.
That would make sense.
They got
Then you
6
can either
legs, 6 segments.
cut that off or helicopter it. I guess I'll cut it off. And then we'll do a whip finish. Then you're going to cut this off at about 3/8 of an inch. So somewhere between 3/8 and a half inch here. And then I'm going to spread that out. And the one thing about this Swiss straw, it's very brittle. It's it's just the opposite of being durable. I mean, you catch one fish and that all the Swiss straw is going to be gone. Not that I've seen that the fish will bite on it any less. So, but anyway, it's on there. I like to protect it. Over the years, I've tried Dave's Flex Cement and UV glues and stuff like that. And lately I've been using this Bone Dry, which is a thin, almost like a head cement, but it's a UV glue. And I'm going to coat that whole thing.
All right.
Lee, see if you can't hit this with your super UV light there. You'd probably be able to have it set up all the way from your house.
Yeah, my daughter's here. She got a chance to use it in the bathroom. Now she won't go in the bathroom anymore.
Okay, so we're going to hit it with the UV.
That was gonna be at-home participation.
And that's it.
That's really great.
So indulge me here. I got two stories about this fly. The first one, like I say, now I usually use this for bass, but trout will take them too, especially large trout. I mean, smaller trout, they're very opportunistic. They'll sit in a current or a seam someplace, wait for the insects to come down and grab them as they're coming by. But when they get bigger, especially the brown trouts, they become very, very predatory. And they'll go after minnows and crawdads and all kinds of stuff like that. And a friend of mine once took me to the Current River, says, I got a great place for us. We started out at Parker Hollow Ford or whatever, the third access below the park. And we started bushwhacking and following horse trails. And we probably went about a mile and a quarter upstream. As a matter of fact, that was the day that I learned that I couldn't swim with my wading shoes on because I tried to swim across the river and I got nowhere fast. But anyway, we got to a place that was a nice run and it ran right into a big pool. There was a bluff on the other side. And he said, tie that crawdad on there and put it in the run and let it run into that pool. And when it gets to the pool, just hold on. So I did just that. And my crawdad got into the pool. I don't think it got 2 feet into the pool. And this fish just hammered it. And I have no idea how big it is. I mean, I fought that thing for at least 2.5 to 3 seconds before he broke me off. I mean, he broke me off almost instantly. My friend looked at me just totally exasperated. He says, what size tippet did you have on there? And I said, well, what I always fish for trout, size 6. He couldn't believe my stupidity. He said, no, nothing less than a 4 around here. So that's one story. They will catch very big trout. And my second story is I was fishing one of these one time and it caught on something. And it just felt like it was a little stick. And as I brought the fly out of the water, there was a crawdad attached to my fly. Now, I don't know whether he meant he was ready for fisticuffs or if he wanted to make love to the fly. I don't know what he was doing, but he was hanging on for dear life. And I think if this thing will fool a crawdad, I'd say that's about as good a recommendation as you can get. So those are my two stories, and so that's the fly. Like I say, it's not quick, it's not easy, but it is very effective.
Very nice.
Yeah, that is very nice.
I love it.
Well done.
Thank you.
Now, is that what you've been catching those smallmouth on?
No, those most of the smallies I've been catching on that June bug booger.
Okay.
I seldom fish this here in Missouri. I'm usually fishing it up at the boundary waters because it will sink faster and further than a woolly booger. So my general trying to fish different levels of the water. If I'm fishing on the top, I'm going to fish poppers or foam cicadas. If I want to fish right below the surface, I have some unweighted minnows and crystal minnows and stuff like that. If I want to fish like 2 or 3 feet deep, I'm going to fish the woolly boogers. If I want to fish 3 or 4 feet deep, I'm going to start fishing these guys. If I want to fish below 4 feet, now I'm getting out the clouser minnows. But most of the places, a lot of time I'm fishing on the Burbus River. And if I start throwing these things, they're just going to get caught up on the rocks and I'll just lose them all day long. So,
Okay.
So most of the time around Missouri, I'm fishing my woolly boogers or poppers.
Hey, Jim,
Yes, sir.
we're down at Parker's Farm
Yeah.
on the current. Is that where that big bluff and there's a cabin on top of it that's part of the conservation area?
I don't really know. I do know that there used to be a home. I don't know if it was a barn or a cabin or whatever. And there's actually a couple of ponds there that rumor has it there's trout in those things. I've never actually done the investigating to find out for sure. I've talked to some people who say they fished it and caught fish, and talked to other people that said that you can't even get in there because it's too weed clogged. So
Well,
that's
I know
probably
that bluff there. There's a rock in the middle of that pool there.
okay.
And there was probably a 6-7 pound brownie sitting there, just enjoying life.
Oh yeah. Oh, they're there.
It's a
That's for
hard place
sure.
to get to.
Yeah.
Okay, that was
Very
awesome.
cool. Very good. Thanks, Jim.
You bet.
All right. I think we got 10 minutes left. I've kind of gone over the emails and everything.
I got a challenge for everybody, Mick.
Cool. Go
I
for
want
it.
to see somebody figure out how to use a half hitch tool one-handed.
Ooh, half hitch tool.
So you're talking the end of the bobkin?
No. Half
That?
hitch tool. I'm sorry, not the half hitch tool.
Oh,
whip
the
finish.
whip finish.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
I've started tying one-handed flies using the evergreen hand.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything is fine. I can tie a half hitch with one hand, no problem. And I suppose if I go back in memory, I could probably figure out how to do the hand method of the whip finish too. But I have spent 3 days trying to figure out how to use this thing to tie a whip finish tool one-handed, and I'm utterly failing completely.
A number of years ago, I did a lot of practice on one of those evergreen tools.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if I ended up doing that just with my fingers, but I think I found a way to do that because it's been a long time. But
Yeah.
let me work on that and let me get back to you.
Great, appreciate it. Yeah, because I can do it with my fingers. You know, that's the way I was originally taught, but I would like to learn how to do it with the half hitch tool so I can show people how to do it either way.
Yeah.
Or the whip finish tool.
Whip finish.
Thank you.
You bet.
Yeah, I'm
Like
trying to
my
mess
trailer-
with it now. It's like, I'll have to think about this.
Yeah, that's where I was this week. I mean, here I am. I was at the Society of American Military Engineers show here we had in Omaha on Thursday and Friday, and I had it all set up, and I was doing one-handed flies for people, and I got to the end, and I said, "Uh-oh, now what?"
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to try that. Yeah, I'm looking at it now and I don't know how. I'll figure it out. I'll see. So that'll be one assignment for us. Oh, cool. Lee got your trailer done. That's awesome.
All right.
Good. Now we have to drag you out to Bennett and show you, go fishing. Trying to think of
Well,
what's,
if you break down, Lee, anywhere between Union and St. Clair, just pull it to the side. We'll get a tractor out there for you.
I'm sure the brand new axle, he should be fine.
Yeah, the whole thing too. So now I got to get rid of the old one.
Well, I know a good metal recycling place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, my camper got fixed that for some reason, one day after I made an input to the Better Business Bureau and to the owner of the company, and just miraculously, it's like, oh yeah, it's ready.
All of a sudden, huh? So you got it back with you now?
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
So we'll have to schedule a camping trip soon. That all the campers are ready to go. So
I'm going to New Jersey at the end of this month for a month.
oh, are you? Are you gonna take it?
Yes.
Oh, very cool. So that'll be a good test on it.
Maybe find some place to fish out there.
Take your 8-weight. Take your 8-weight. The ocean's there.
Okay. Just got to figure out what licenses or permits, or I'll figure it out.
Yeah, go to a local, sports shop and they might be able to help you out.
Google is your friend.
Yep.
Who?
Google.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we got like,
YouTube.
anyone, anyone have any suggestions for a fly next week? Because then I could start practicing it now and come up with something.
Yeah, I probably won't be here for the next 2 weeks.
That's fine. I'm just trying to think of something. I know we haven't done any bass flies or anything, so I'm gonna try to come up with something with that. I've got a bunch of that post fly stuff that I could look for. We'll do a bass fly. I'll come up with something and I'll get the email out soon. So
This in the mail.
bench kit? What is that? Oh, is it UV?
No, it's a dauber wax grease or whatever. Not dauber, but the tacky wax.
Tacky wax. Never even heard of it.
For
Yeah,
dubbing?
Yeah, dubbing. There you go. Thanks, Terry.
yeah. Now that tacky wax is not for regular dubbing. That's for what they call touch dubbing.
It's
And
got like
literally, you put a little of that wax on, and you take whatever your dubbing material is, and it's so sticky, you just put it on there,
mhm.
and it stays. I have a fly that uses that technique. When I get back, maybe we can tie that.
They give me the high tack, low tack, hard head. I
Yeah.
can't read this other one.
Here's what I
Yeah,
use.
the high
Lee, when I-
tack would be for touch dubbing. The low tack would be for regular dubbing.
Okay,
Hard head, I assume, is probably head cement, right?
it's black.
Here's what I use, Lee.
Oh, yeah, no, these are
This is
little.
BT's. That's Al Beatty. BD. And see, this says tacky on the bottom, and that's just exactly as Jim said.
Okay, so
The
you
touch
just
dubbing
need the
kind of
one, you don't
technique.
need a variety, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of YouTube videos out there on how to do dubbing using wax, and there's I don't know, Jim, what would you say? As many ways of putting on dubbing as there are stars in the sky.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, you just gotta find out which one you like doing. Like I
Yep.
said, with any of the fly, what you tie or how you fish, you find out what you like to do and you just run with it. So there's no wrong or way of doing something. It's just a different way. So
Okay.
all right, so we got 2 minutes left. I'll probably just call it then. If you guys need anything, holler. Let me see. Scott got his reimbursement from casting. Roger, did you get yours yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I'm gonna ping Mike after this. Since Scott received his, so I'll make sure you get yours. So let me get a hold of Mike, because I think you're the last one I'm waiting on. So
Either
All
that or
right.
Judy's forging my name again and having a good time at the fabric.
yeah, it's like several $100 and she's going shopping. So all right. So all right, I'll let you guys go. If you need anything, you got my email, phone, get a hold of me. Look for an email soon. I'll pick a bass fly, and I'll see you guys on Monday. I will be out of town this weekend, so if a bunch of you guys want to go fishing, reach out to each other and enjoy the weekend. So take care, everyone. Again, if you need anything, holler.
You and Margie.
Hey, Linesville.
Okay.
You guys.
Take care now.
I don't know.
Ciao.
See you.
Thanks again, Jim.